got some QnA to do. Hope you're doing fine, cause it's QnA time again. Hello world, how's it going? Hope you guys are all doing great. If not, as always, I hope it gets better for you. So welcome to another Friday Night Live Q&A, where it's all about helping you guys out since you guys helped me out, and it's just a wonderful community to be in. I don't know if this spot is going to work or not, but we're here to help you guys if you have aquarium problems and you need some solutions and you just need to pick some people's brains. I've learned so much from this community and I've stored a bunch of it, but for the things I don't know, so many great people to help us out with that. And I've kept hundreds of tanks, so I do know quite a few things. But yeah, that's what we're here for, and I hope you guys are all doing great. And let's jump into it. If you got the chat or the question, always remember to throw a question mark in there so I know. But hello to all you awesome people. Nice seeing you guys in there. Hello. Always good to see you. Audio, video 10 or 10 of 10. That's awesome to hear. I did hop off the Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is a little sketchy these days. But glad to see you all here. And as far as like this week, getting things done, just kind of learning a lot about construction, refreshing myself up in a bit of that because it's a new property, gonna have a lot of work ahead of me. So many of you guys may know I'm selling my house and pretty much restarting, which will be a great series for I think you guys to all follow and journey it with, because I mean I'm gonna have to start from scratch as far as like building the business, everything. So if those that are inspiring to maybe do the same, definitely stay tuned for all that, and we'll be making videos for you. But let's see here, any questions yet? You gonna meet up with Wild Fish Tanks channel in Florida? Asked Lee Owen. For sure, I definitely want to link up with Ryan of Wild Fish Tanks and do some collabs with him. That'd be awesome. There's a lot of great people down in Florida to collab with that I'm super excited about. Even though I may not have much for an operation at the beginning, I mentioned this last Friday Night Live too, but I will try to go see cool places. There's a lot of aquatic stuff to do in Florida. I mean, the whole area is just surrounded with water, so I should be in my element, which should bring a lot of videos for you guys too. Plus there's ponds on the property that we're getting. There's already fish on that property that I've never personally kept myself, like peacock bass and tilapia and stuff. I will be taking some things with me, but I'm gonna have to build like a place to put all my tools, because I got 6 storage units right now, and the house that we're getting is like half the size of this house. So it's kind of downgrading. We're trading house for land, but it's really the weather for us down there that we're looking for. We're covered in snow here. We didn't ship this week. Sorry for everybody waiting for their orders, but just can't control that weather and don't want to risk it with the fish, because you know once some road gets blocked or iced in, and now we don't even have people delivering food or anything like that around where we're at, it would have just been a nightmare. So next week is looking good. It looks like everything should kind of clear out and be back in the stable temperatures. And I don't ship if it's in single degrees, but it should be 30s and 20s next week. So here's to hoping, because I got to get your guys' orders out just to move some plants. Like if you guys need pearlweed guppy grass or anything like that, I am selling guppy grass for cheap. And these bags that I'm going to send out are going to be huge, because I've got so many plants right now just taking over. Thank you guys all for your patience and for your support on that. Travis Meyer says, what are your thoughts on phosphates? Mine are off the charts, but haven't had algae blooms. Should I care? I mean, if you haven't had algae blooms, I'm not sure what's really taking care of your phosphates. Maybe you have enough plant biology and biomass to be able to absorb those phosphates, and or maybe, I don't know if you've got a big filtration on it to where the bacteria can balance it out. But I mean, there's an old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I wouldn't be trying to solve something that's not problematic. But I mean, usually you're right, like phosphates will create algae blooms. So I mean, good for you that it hasn't had it happen. But if you do get an algae bloom, definitely that's where I would look to first. Oh, Richard Reynolds tell me it's 84 in Fort Myers. Thanks for the reminder. I do have the weather on my phone. I actually check it pretty much every day. I saw you guys had a little cold spell there. I'm guessing that was your guys' full winter. It was like 3 days down into 30 degrees or something. It was like 30s and 60s. But then the next day it was like 60 and 80. Oh, I can't wait for that. I'm like a lizard to a hot rock, so give me that heat. And I'll get a kayak just in case there's a hurricane, you know. I might escape kayaks. Craig Broderick says, "Good day. What are you drinking tonight, mate?" So tonight I am on the water. I am drinking all the water. I just can't drink like carbonated drinks anymore. I actually been trying to drink a little ginger ale just for something different. I get tired of water. But it's what's best for you. How about Aquatics? Good to see you in here. Hey, Nietzsche. Lars K, thank you so much, brother. Huge thank you for the $20 super chat. Just throwing out a smiley face. Well, brother, you are awesome. Thank you so much for the awesome continued support. Like, if you guys don't know, Lars K's been following me for like forever. And has always supported these live streams. So a big shout out to you, Lars K. And I hope your Friday is going good, brother. And always glad to see you, you know that. So that was awesome. And wow, no questions at the bottom. I can't believe this. Oh no, here, I missed a couple of questions. I was kind of flying past them. That's why. Got distracted with that super chat. Jupiter One says, "Hi Lucas, exciting that you're coming to Florida. When are you scheduled to close on the Florida property?" So we're scheduled for the 17th, but we're still waiting on selling this house, and the guy who's buying this house is waiting on selling his house. So it's kind of just waiting for the dominoes to fall into the right places, and then we'll just adjust accordingly. But it's kind of a rough situation because we do have Aquashella coming up in Orlando, Florida. We are supposed to have a booth. I wasn't really planning on it, but I don't know. I would like to still go to the Aquashella. We'll see. So hopefully it gets done sooner than later. I don't know. Chips are up in the air right now. Thomas George says, "Looking for high pH hard water nano fish for a planted 75. I mean, most, like your rasboras, like your brilliant rasboras, a lot of tetras will actually handle that too. Especially if that's normal water for your area and your local fish stores and or fish club. That many of those fish have already transitioned to that hard water. Now, if you are getting them from a softer water source and trying to get them over into the hard water arena, then I would try to do it slower. I wouldn't like just chuck them in there. Maybe put them in their own quarantine, kind of half a softer water to what they're already at. And I would go off of just TDS meter. I wouldn't worry about pH so much on that. And more worry about the TDS hardness of the water. And you could jump it up probably like 100 TDS each day. So if they're like used to 50 TDS, which is not a whole lot, they're not used to like the bacterial and the fungal. I didn't mean each day, but each week. But if they're not used to the bacterial and fungal that arises in the hard water situations, opposed to being in soft water where you don't have as much fungal and bacterial species going on, you want to transition it. So if you got 400 TDS hard water, pretty hard water, and then you're trying to transition fish from 50, I would keep them in like 150 for a week, and then 250 for another week, and then 350 for another week, and then be ready for the 400. And if you feel like it's a more finicky kind of fish, or maybe a fish that you got from a store and it's already not maybe the healthiest, but you really want to bring them back to life, I would half that to like 50 a week. That way it's not so hard on its immune system. That's the main reason why you do this, is to keep their immune system healthy to where it's not fighting harder than it can fight. So just like us humans and our immune system, it's the same thing with these fish. It's like if you were to take you out of the cold and rip you back into the heat, or the heat back in the cold. Granted, we are pretty tolerant, but we do have our degree differences. Instead of heat, it's just hardness. Gnarly fish tanks. GT Aquatics says, LRB, will Denison Barbs handle 77F to 82F? Yes, definitely. I have several. I want to move to a warmer tank, but not sure if they'll do well. Oh yeah, they'll love that. That's like summer weather for them. Give them some pebbles. They may even scatter for you. But just always remember to cover the tops on them. Don't close the system to where it can't breathe. I like to use this egg crate here. Let's see if you can see it. I like to use that egg crate. That way it can still breathe. You get that atmospheric exchange, especially if you're going with like a no filter system. If you got a filter system blowing air bubble and atmosphere into the water column, then it's not as bad. Or, yeah, as bad of an issue. Okay, scroll. I gotta kind of scroll back up because once I take my finger off of it, it goes back. Man, that's way back. All right, I'm getting distracted here. Ron Harryman, well then what? Oh. Danimal Cracker, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. And man, bringing back the snack of a pastime. Thank you so much for that $10 super chat. It says, hey Lucas, if I want to set up a few small tanks, 10 to 20 gallons, for breeding egg layers, what easy plant do you suggest, and what are some easier Barb, Tetras, or Raspberries to start with? Good luck in Florida. Well, thank you. As far as like easy plants, I would go look at anything on my website right now is like the easiest plant that you can keep. Like, I am very careless with all the species that have survived my carelessness. Like the plants that are here are just, it's what will pretty much survive anything. So just look at the listing of that, whether it's in stock or not. Like the stems, maybe some of the stems need some feeding. But like a lot of your rotalas, they don't need feeding as much. But then like your mosses, like these floaters, I got Brazilian pennywort, Nubiuses, ferns, Bolbituses, all sorts of stuff. And then as far as like easier Barbs, Tetras, and Raspberries, and if the goal is to breed them, that's the trickiest part. So it's not really breeding them is the hard part, but catching and collecting the eggs, then having proper space to put those and grow them out and graduate them and stuff. So, really you can get most fish to breed, whether any Barbs, Tetras, Raspberries is almost as easy as the others. Tetras is kind of more like, I mean, some are definitely variant, but if you know how water works, that won't mess with you so much. So go for the ones that you like. That way you'll enjoy it. And just make sure there's different ways you can set up catchments. The hardest trick with setting up these catchments is keeping comfortability. And if you can't keep the comfortability, then sometimes the fish won't trigger. But I've also seen fish, if you separate them long enough, do the whole male and the female split, especially on Barb's, Tetras, and Raspberries, where you learn how to split in the sexes. And keep them split for like a week or two, feed them live food. That works really well as far as triggering it, whether they're comfortable or not. They may even just like freak out and like, oh, we're so ready, we need to spawn anyways, because we all might die. I think that's why sometimes they breed them out in containers fairly well. But there are systems where you could put pumps in and even air-driven lines that actually will push the eggs. Say you've got mesh and you've got your moss on top of the mesh, or just some sort of plant that you think that your egg scatterers are gonna just throw their eggs off into. Even though some raspberries, they like broadleaves that they actually lay their leaf or their eggs up underneath, like the harlequins do that. But like most tetras, Barbs, and a lot of the raspberries are just egg scatterers. So if you have like a shelf that you could, this is where matting filters come in good and handy too. You could split that area up to where it just pushes the eggs over to one side, and you can actually use that other side as a hatching area. And then you could either collect the fry out there or wait for them to grow, or you can siphon them out. There's all kinds of ways you could do that. You could even separate that by tank and even have it push it up out of into another tank. And then I would have graduating species, like sizes, because not all of them are going to grow the same. Rainbow fish are notorious for this. Like pretty much all fish are, where you'll have your beefier, bigger ones that'll grow faster, and then they'll try to eat the smaller ones. So it is good if you can graduate them from each. And I do plan on making more in-depth videos of ways to do this and different ways to do this when I move out to Florida. Because I'm going to have all kinds of space to just create, and that's really what it's all about. And hopefully that helps you, Danimal Cracker, and thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Let's see, scrolly. Any idea where to buy heirloom guppies, pintails, speartail, or flagtail? I do have some crazy pintails and speartails and flagtails. You don't usually see those offered often. I haven't really been in the market for them per se, so definitely not something you see normally. It'd be something I would definitely hit Google for. And they should lead you if anybody has them. Or hit up the fish clubs and fish groups. Because that's not normally a basic type of tail type for guppies to find. I have some I really need to work on. Lee Owen, how do I get my Cardinal Tetras to make babies? So like I mentioned before, split them up, feed them good live food. Give them that softer rainwater. I always like to throw in like catappa leaves to even help with sterilization of the eggs. And this is another trick too, is when you do get the eggs, you kind of want to leave them sterilized. And this is why softer water works really well for a lot of breeders when it comes to hatching out. Because the real trick is to keep your eggs from getting fungused. And if you have low soft water, the potential of that, especially if you have a bunch of leaf litter, is really low because you have microorganisms eating up things and helping keep that balance, and that fungus just doesn't really grow so as much in that acidic water. It breaks down a lot of it. And then the trick is to add the dirty aquarium water once you see the fry. Matter of fact, here, let me show you something. I mean, I was going to make a video of this, and since we're like really nailing breeding here in this Q&A, this is a little experiment that I was working on. This is some Cory Cat eggs that I got from my 125-gallon aquarium with all those rainbow fish. And I scraped the eggs off, but there you can see little Cory Cats flying around everywhere. So I did exactly that. I put RO water in here, pretty much like rainwater, straight RO water, nothing much to it. threw peat moss in here, pretty much the same as a catappa leaf. And then as soon as they hatched, they're all just kind of wiggling around everywhere. I was like, oh, cool. Then I added a pitcher of green water. So at their fry size, they could eat green water. They're already actually eating the granules now. I don't know if they were feeding on the peat moss, but they are now eating on the granules because I have put in the last couple days a couple on each side. That way they don't all have to eat in the same place. But they've been mealing on that already, and I mean, there's a ton in there. If I were to like really move it around, you can see some of them going. But this is like super, super easy way to do it. No filter, no nothing, just like a little Mother Nature pond in a tray, bro. It's really that simple. Well, I can't say that it's really that simple because it's figuring out the knowing of that connection of Mother Nature and how she really operates, especially with the dilution of so-called other things that we put into the hobby to make it much more difficult. Oh, here they are. A ton of them over on this side. Yum, 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 yum. They're getting big fast. I would say they're probably like a week or maybe 2 weeks now, if that. So, I mean, they are about ready to graduate into something bigger. I need to add more water in here, too. You see with the water line. But another trick, too, is to keep them warm. If you're trying to breed fish, keep them warm. So this is actually the warmest area in our house. It's probably, yeah, it's 76 in here. And this is probably like maybe 79. It's good to keep it around 80 or so. But with that light, I get that bottom heating pad kind of deal going on. These guys are breeding like crazy. Matter of fact, like here's another thing we've been doing with the breeding is we've been keeping them in here. I had some rice fish in here and they have bred out a ton. Maybe see if I can get them on here. But see them in there. There's actually Daphnia in there with them. There's a ton of shrimp in there as well. So the Daphnia, since there's green water in here, dude, these Daphnia feed constantly. So while they're feeding, they're laying eggs. The babies can grow up, eat off the eggs. Babies ain't even gonna have to go anywhere. They're gonna have live food forever within that tank. And if you want green water, easier way to make green water is these T5. Just throw a lot of T5 on it. And that you get radiation from those T5s, unlike your LEDs. And I think that's what helps feed a lot of that green water. Same with the sun. You can do it with the tank in the sun, but that stuff is gold. Having that green water for just feeding live food. Daphnia colonies, especially like in the other room, I have a whole 40 gallon of Daphnia. I've got a couple tanks that I back up Daphnia into. And then if you just want to help trigger breeding, having something like Daphnia around can help with that. And Lee Owen, thank you so much for your support again, brother. Throwing down the $10 super chat, says thanks, bud. Well, you are definitely welcome. And that's some real nitty gritty breeding. If I can make so many videos out of that, but I'm glad that I was able to share that with you guys here because I think that'll help a ton of you guys out if you could wrap your head around it. All right. Fish Folks says, anyone ever get a hold of Hummingbird Tetras? I have never actually heard of those, but if anybody has gotten a hold of them, I would look towards Wet Spot Tropicals out of Portland. They get all the crazy rare tetras. Oddball Aquatics says, can you please feed those mascara barbs? They are dying at LRB. You know what? They've actually been fed already once today. You know they're always hungry. Like little puppies. But we will feed them soon here after a little while. We're only about halfway. Maybe we could do a halfway feeding. We usually do it at the end, but there's always other stuff we could feed. You can definitely feed these guys at the end. Yeah, maybe we'll do a halftime feeding. It's always fun to watch. JP3 says, have you ever grown fresh garlic in your tanks? Any benefits for the fish? So I haven't, but I mean, garlic does have medicinal values, especially for fish, and it has been used in a lot of fish medicine. So I can imagine that it could be beneficial. I mean, just recently I was throwing celery in my tanks. We just cooked up some ants on a log with some peanut butter and raisins for Wesley, and had some celery left. I got the stalk floating. It's probably going to get eaten before it grows, but I have seen celery grow in tanks. There's a lot of compost, and you can actually feed your fish. Like these barbs would, eventually something would eat it. The plecos would eat it, the snails would eat it. Shrimp, it's great for shrimp tanks, any kind of stuff like that. Let's see. As long as it's not oily, like your vegetables especially. But we'll be doing more of that as well when we get into Florida. We'll be going gangbusters on that kind of stuff. It's going to be like the Philippines meets Florida. You know, that's how I learned a lot of that stuff, is just what they do over in the Philippines, Thailand, where they don't have a lot of fancy equipment or this, that, and other, and they just use Mother Nature, and it's amazing. Ron Harryman, as you were saying about moving fish to harder water, they would be vulnerable to fungi and such. Would moving fish to soft acidic water help in curing fungal and bacterial problems? Yes, actually it will, especially if you put that catappa leaf in there. It can help with that. And I've done it many, many times. And you can actually fight bad bacteria with beneficial bacteria. So say you've got a tank and it's having like some imbalance of some other bacteria that's just not good. You could take like the filter media out of your canister filter or whatever you may have that collects that beneficial bacteria, a sponge filter, whatever. Squeeze that into the tank that you may think has bad bacteria in it. I mean, it may not even be bad bacteria, but whatever it is, that mold will help equalize it. It's actually really crazy how it works. So you guys may not believe me, but I'm telling you, I've tried it many times. And it's crazy how good that dirty, dirty stuff that we clean out of our filter really is. Plus, you guys want to see some mold buildup. So, some people will be like, oh no, you can't have this. This will kill your fish. But dude, you can. Like, look at this. This stuff is layered. Like, I'm making my own dirt at this point. And these are like baby juveniles. And I took out a bunch of algae from here too. So in most tanks, taking out all that algae at once would kind of create an imbalance that you would see more algae coming from it. But just the fact that this stuff is in here helps balance that more than if it wasn't in here. And this is where filters do come in handy. Like, I am not dogging filters. Like, I do things without filters. But I'm definitely not dogging filters because they do hold this stuff. Anytime that you can hold more of this stuff, and this is why they pushed filters a lot from the beginning, is because it does hold this stuff. Same with like an under gravel filter system. That's why that was probably big back in the day. And then people just probably started over cleaning them. And then it got unpopular. And I don't know, that and you get under gravel filter systems. Only problem with that is when you do get roots growing into it, then you get a lot of root breakage with planered aquariums and stuff like that. But that stuff is like gold when it comes to problems in keeping aquariums and balancing them. Which, I mean, this is why I need to make more videos, and I do plan on making more videos. Teach you guys more of this stuff breaking down, because not everybody's going to sit here and watch this Q&A and really get that information, but we'll get there in time. Leo 209 Aquatics, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It says, what do you think of resins to remove nitrates, and how many dwarf loaches for a 40 breeder? Is the dwarf chain loaches going to be by themselves in the 40-gallon breeder? If you're going to have a 40-gallon breeder of dwarf chain loaches, I personally would get like maybe 4 of them and try to breed them. I honestly do not know how those things breed. And I know they're kind of like egg scatterers. And I have a feeling if you put them in enough area that you could get them to breed out. And the only reason why I'm saying this is because, like, I'm a big fan of the dwarf chain loaches. Like, they're one of my favorites. But the only problem is, like, if you like snails, they'll definitely eat them up. I got a lot of snails in my tank, but I think they need to be by themselves to really breed them out. Kind of like I've been breeding out my hill stream loaches, community breeding them, which I needed to make a video out for you guys. I'll probably do that in a TOT. But many of you guys knew I made that video that showed that you can keep hill stream loaches with no flow, and same in that no filter tank. I mean, they're in there breeding. So I think you could probably do the same with pygmy chain loaches, saying that you just need rock piles. Because I think you need a lot of rock pile too, because I think that the chain loaches would still predate. I have actually had a 20-gallon where I was trying to breed them out, but I can't help myself. I threw rainbow fish in there and never really did get to that point. So, I mean, it's really up to you. And if you say you just don't even want to breed them and you just want a bunch of, like, a cool school of loaches, I mean, in a 40 breeder, I would probably go with, like, 20. If you wanted to, like, if you had like more filtration on it, you could probably get away with 40. And the only reason why I say you would need filtration for that is just how much you would have to feed all those loaches. I mean, 40 chain loaches would eat a lot of food. And I'm not quite sure how that waste would go. But very cool fish, and I hope that helps you out. Like, at least gives you a range. And when it comes to resins to remove nitrates, I don't really know the science behind that, so I can't give you a really good answer. I do know that RODIs actually use a resin to help filter out soft water and RO water. So, I mean, there's probably some science to it. I just don't know it all. So if anybody in the chat can help Leo209 Aquatics about that, then that would be helpful. And thank you so much for the super chat. And sorry if I'm missing anybody's questions here. I am trying to do my best. Kelly Ready 37. I heard it needs to be cooked. Kale thoughts. Even if you use cook or kale, like it does. I mean, it could help soften it up, but it really doesn't have to be soft or cooked or blanched or anything. You just throw the kale in. The biggest issue is when you throw it in is it's going to want to float. So you'll have to either let it float and not care, or you could like stab a fork in it, or you can weigh it down with something. Pin it in between some rocks. That's a good way to do it. Or driftwood or whatever you can pin it into. But like all kinds of salads, all kinds of lettuces, kale, whatever, spinach, whatever. If it comes from the garden, just make sure you wash it though. Because all the insecticides and pesticides and plastics and stuff's grown in. Some dude says, hey Lucas, will you be selling your Praecox rainbow fish again? Your fish have blue across the entire body, while fish from farms only have partially blue bodies. I know, I'm telling you, they're pretty sweet blue neons. Unfortunately, I mean, I have a couple breeding groups, but I haven't like been focusing on them. I do have babies growing out, but they're still like itty bitty, and if you know about rainbow fish, like they probably won't be done by the time I move. I do plan on breeding them out, especially when I get down to Florida. I'm gonna breed the crap out of them things. Like they're gonna go gangbusters now. I'm gonna have breeding vats of like mosquito larvae, brine shrimp babies, and Daphnia, everything's going to be eating live, good food. I'm still giving them tetragranules, so when I do sell them, they're going to eat people's food. But oh, I can't wait for that. But yes, I hope to get some out, some dude at some point. Definitely be one that I will always work on. Like, I've bred thousands of those. It's one of the fish that I've never really got tired of breeding and keeping, like in the fish room. It's the one that I've bred the longest out of any fish and been kind of actively breeding. Because when you get huge schools of them, like that's what I plan on breaking down, like my areas of how things work. And I can't wait to get like a showcase tank. I've had it one time with a 75-gallon where I had like, I don't know, like 100 plus some of those in one 75. There's also ornate rainbows in there, but I'd like to get them just by themselves. And they school so awesomely when you get a big group of those. So I'll definitely be working on those because I got plans for them. Patrick Callahan says, LRB, are you going to add fish to the website before you move clearance sale style? So no, I'm not. But what I am going to do, and I have been hoarding stuff for the guy who gets this house, just so he has good foot and has lots to breed, he can do the clearance sale for you. Or do like just starting business sale or whatever you want to call it. So either way, you're going to get some deals. Plus, I mean, I do have like a lot of plants, as I mentioned earlier in the live stream, like my pearlweed, my guppy grass, and some others. I think Brazilian pennywort's on sale. Like I've got a bunch of it growing, so I'm going to be throwing big bags of those out, and the orders coming up. And that's kind of how I do it too. Like, and I'll teach the new guy how I kind of do things too. Because there has to be like, there's like when things are growing real good, you got a lot of excess, like oh, I'm gonna make the bags bigger and stuff like that, and just there's a balancing to all that. And I do plan on teaching the guy like a lot. Thomas George, do you have any suggestions to purchase safe blackworms? Okay, so that can be tricky. Most of them come from like Eastern Aquatics, I think, around the U.S. Of course, there's probably some others, but that's like the main one. And I think anywhere that you really get any source from those, you're probably going to be getting a chance of Hydra or Planaria or other nematodes that come with the blackworms. What you can do, and what I've done, is like completely rinse them out, collect you like a good amount of clean blackworms, like you've inspected them, rinse them off again with clean water, and then separate them into their own tank to where you could breed them out. That's about the only way that you could get your safe blackworms, because any other way you're gonna just be rinsing and rinsing, like you'd have to sift through them all. There's not really any foolproof safe place to get blackworms that I know of. If you find one, like let me know. But I plan on farming some, but man, I know if I did farm them, dude, they would go so quick. So quick. We need more blackworm farms out there. So if anybody like really loves worms, you can just, like Harry said, man, you could just, like I Got Worms, start up a store. Fire to Ashes, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate that. Always great to see you in the live. Says, what size boards and how many did you use for the 75-gallon brick rack? I need to quick setup for 275s. Okay, so, and you could actually probably do 3 if you don't mind putting one on the ground. So I've got 3 75s here, and I've got the 2. Let's see. So took me 3 cinder blocks. Barely had any height here. But between this, I've got 4 cinder blocks. So decent height there. So about 4 cinder blocks per each height if you wanted to go with the triple. Now, if you go with the boards, let's go ahead on the side here. I've got 3 for each. The one in the middle, probably overkill, but I like overkill. When I design stuff, I like to definitely over-design, over-engineer, because, yeah, I mean, if you don't, like, I don't know, a couple bucks for, what is it, like $5-6 for that extra 2x4 there. Granted, times 4, it cost me like extra $25, but at the same time, I get much more reassurance from it not falling, so. And really, it's been here forever, and there's like no sagging. Like the boards, I was just thinking about that earlier today, where I was like, man, it's crazy how well this stuff really holds up. The only problem with these racks, though, is they are heavy and they do take up a bit of space. So as far as efficiency, it's not going to be as clean as, like, say, these racks are. Between, like, just those two racks is a lot thinner than what I've got going on over here. But for a quick, easy rack, bada bing, bada boom, it's fairly cheap, too. I would say cheaper than those Guardians. I wouldn't put 75s on those either, though. All right. Either way, hope that helps, and thank you so much for the support. It was very, very helpful. Especially, man, I'm gonna have a long way to go as far as this new property and getting it built. Michigan Tropicals, always great to see you around, brother. Says, oh, asking Mike how long ago and how was your experience? Oh, he's talking to somebody else. But anyway, it's still great to see you in here, bro, as always. Thought you had a question. I was like, oh, I can get a question, and you didn't have to super chat. Chris Robertson, LRB with shrimp. Do you think they would breed faster if they are predators in the tank, like having a danger forces more mating for survival? So, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I've definitely experimented with that and have seen firsthand, just because when it comes to breeding anything, anytime you can make it comfortable, it really helps. So the only other time that you would have to do this with shrimp or fish, which really only fish that you would need another tank mate, is if it's already shy fish, kind of in a shy area, and that dither fish would just make it more comfortable. That's why you add dither fish into like cichlid tanks and stuff, just to make it feel more comfortable about its surroundings. So if you have a bigger fish and a smaller fish that yet can't be eaten, but it sees that the smaller fish is doing okay in that water, then it will feel safer. And with shrimp, if there's something in there, they'll just buckle down into a rock pile. And if they don't have surface area to really spread out to, then you won't get as much numbers. Kevin Rosenberg, always great to see you in here, brother. Says, I love blackworms and I could get a colony going. Would a 3-gallon be enough for them with a sponge filter and a little bit of gravel? It would. You wouldn't get much out of it, just because it does take them a long time to like grow up. And they really need surface area. They don't need a lot of water. Actually, really shallow water. The shallower the water, the better. So, not only like, this is another reason why Florida's going to be awesome, because I'm going to be building systems like this. So you take something like this, and this was going to be another video I was going to show you guys. But you take something like this, fill rocks in it. This is like a drainage pan for a water heater. So you fill rocks in here, you can plumb it, you can put a bulkhead in there or something. Then like the little pebbles, I would go like little pebbles or even just sand. Sand actually might work best, because you could get like a screen and sift out your blackworms and stuff, instead of worrying about the pebbles crushing your blackworms and killing some possibly. But anyways, you could have water flow through here, real low water flow. And say if I had this green water tank pumping up here into that, dude, they've got like a full-time food source. You'd even throw granules in there. You can throw compost in there. Dude, you can make them all into all one systems. Yeah. So I would try to do something like that. And you could probably actually, I don't know if I would do that with no filter. I mean, you might be able to get away with it. That'd be a good experiment. Maybe we'll try that, doing a no filter at some point. You don't even have to pump water through it. Once again, sorry if I'm missing anybody's questions. I am like throwing a dartboard right now. Kason W says, my Corydoras egg got fungus, methylene blue. What do you think happened? Ugh, you use methylene blue to begin with. I am not a fan of methylene blue. Never will be. So sometimes what'll happen with Cory eggs, they will fungus because they're not fertile. And usually the issue is you need to separate them. And I don't know if you were here for this before, but I'll just show you proof in the pudding. Here's a bunch of Cory Cat eggs that I put with peat moss. Instead of using methylene blue, you use Mother Nature's way, where you've got peat moss and soft water. You want like RO water for the eggs. Now, after you have the RO and they hatch the RO water, you want to put some aquarium water in there. I put some green water in there. And that helped balance it out. That way they have something natural, like beneficial bacteria for them growing up. But you want to keep that water soft for the eggs. That way you don't have fungal issues. Plus that peat moss will help counteract that fungal problem. But oh yeah, methylene blue, it pretty much works the same way as the soft water is supposed to. The only problem is it dyes the crap out of everything. It's hideous to look at, and who knows how healthy it is. And after the fish hatch, like, you gotta hurry up and get them out of there because it could kill them. But with like what I was just showing you there, that's been sitting there for like 2 weeks, and I just top it off. No water change or nothing. It's not daily water change like old school way would be. Like, oh, you'd have to change that water every freaking day to keep your babies alive. But no, it's just sitting there marinating with Mother Nature. That's my rant on that, I guess. I triggered with that methylene blue, but I hope that helps you. I hope that definitely helps you. And I'm glad that you can help me express that to other people as well, to other listeners. Because I don't always share this stuff because it doesn't come up. James Richards says, how do you feed your Daphnia? I used yeast and had a crash. So I use green water. And as I mentioned earlier, if you want to grow green water, you pretty much have it like any fish tank. Throw some guppies in there, throw some swordtails, throw a fish that like to waste a lot, and even like break up some lettuce or something in there you could feed green water with, and then lots of light. And it's not like LED lights won't really get it for you. You gotta use radiated lights like CFLs or T5s or the sun. But green water all day, every day, for life. And the problem with the yeast is it can easily be overdone, and just the way it bleeds into the water, it can just get sour real fast. Then you got to deal with more water changes. You do green water, you ain't never got to worry about a water change, because what you do is you get the Daphnia tank as green as you can. Dude, they'll eat it up. The more that they eat up, the more they'll breed. David Coy says, hi LRB, should I worry about introducing scuds into a fully planted 20-gallon guppy and platy tank that I hope to keep shrimp in down the road? Will scuds wreak havoc on crypts, val, and java moss? Thanks. Okay, so since you have guppies and platies in with them, that would definitely help mediate the number of scuds, and it would actually just create more of a life cycle of food for your whole aquarium. If you don't care about selling plants or separating your shrimp to sell them, the scuds will definitely not be a problem. So scuds are actually great at naturally landscaping aquariums. They are like Mother Nature's great aquascapers because they'll eat any of the dead decaying material really well as far as leaves and stems and stuff go. And by them doing that, you don't get like the organic breakdown like you naturally would that would feed algae. And plus, algae has a real problem living with any tank that has scuds, because scuds will eat up the algae. So if you don't care about plant or selling plants, which you could always like wash the plants off, or maybe disclose that your plants may have scuds before you sell them, you can still do it that way too. So it's really up to you. There's a lot of ways to do it, but I mean, scuds are great for natural environment ecosystem for sure. Absolutely love them. I wish I had more, or well, some. I don't have any now, but I may get back into them again. Fired Ashes says, do you know overall length? Always got a tape measure nearby. I guess I could grab it. Michigan Tropicals says we have a nice 8-foot, 1 foot, 1 foot river tank all ready for scaping. We should see if we can get you on the schedule. Oh my God, that sounds awesome, dude. A river tank? I would love to scape something like that. Oh, sorry, I'm about to put you guys up my nose. Let me get this measured out. Send me an email, bro, or you not have my text? Or at least hit up Lady LRB. We'll definitely, all right, I know she's got your girl's number. We'll talk about that. We'll see. I don't know when you're wanting it done. This is hard to do with one hand, to be honest. I'm trying here. Come on now, come on. All right, what do we got? What do we got? We got 64.5, so that's not bad. That gave me, it didn't give me much gap in between. I don't know how much gap you want in between. That's kind of in between for you, but try not to put too much gap in there. But yeah, man, that river system sounds cool. I am down. If the timing is right. You know, Squeaks, I'll let you out here in a little while. Oh, it's almost, we didn't even do the halftime feeding. My bad. It's easy to get distracted, especially with these questions. Kimber Smith says, what's your day job? This is my lifestyle. This is what I live to do. This is it. I mean, I work construction too. I've got a degree in graphic design. I've had a real estate license. I've done a lot of things in life. I am a forever learner, really, if anything. That's what I really am. And I like to create. K Crease 10 says, can you keep shrimp with the Pestos and neons? You can. Definitely look into my Shrimp Havens video. That will help explain what I'm about to tell you. But you get like these rocks, so you can use rocks about yay big, you use them that big, or like different sizes of rocks. More rocks you actually use, the better gradual natural look you'll get from it. But the more that you pile those rocks, it creates all those cracks and crevices where the shrimp can actually live in and get away from your neons and the Pestos and create a colony. Now, if you want to do it, it's best to do it before you put the fish in, if it's a new tank. But say you already have the fish in there, put the rock pile in there, then at night add the shrimp onto the rock pile. You may have some fallen soldiers, but hopefully some will live and they will start colonizing within the rock. You may not see them forever, but eventually they will start coming out and colonizing, which I've done that many a times. But if you YouTube search LRB Shrimp Haven, it'll give you a great video on it. Ron Harryman says, if you didn't have RO water, would distilled water in this breeding type situation? Yeah, distilled water is pretty much the same as RO. Probably actually more cleaner and more sterile, for sure. Let's see, Guppy Bay says, what's the first 5 fish you spawned, bred, and your favorite so far? Very first fish was the golden wonder killifish. That's the one that really stuck out. And from then, I don't know, like bluefin killifish. I think the dwarf neon rainbows, the ornate rainbows. What else? I'm sure like I probably bred a guppy there at some point. I don't really remember the first 5. I definitely remember the first one, just because they were like this awesome pair of golden wonder killies I saw at a local fish store, like, which these fish were super rare for a local fish store. Like some hobbyists brought them in, like at maturity, like they're almost on their last leg, I guess. But they're like the biggest, beefiest golden wonders I've still ever seen to this date. And they were amazing. Those like really hooked me. That was about the same time I figured out plants can go into aquariums. And then they started coming out with the cherry shrimp, which was really cool. That's when all you could get was just crystal reds, crystal blacks, or cherries. And the cherries back then they weren't the best. The cherries have definitely gone a long way. Shrimp altogether have gone a long way. All right, who's taking over the fish house? We will see soon once it's all kind of in place. I will be sharing that with you then. But till then, I'm going to kind of hold that back. Travis Meyer says, another question. We have an infestation of trumpet snails in our 75. Everything in the tank is fine so far. Should we try to get them out or leave them? If you do get them out, it can help them balance out the boom a little faster. And this all kind of depends on if they have figured out their population boom yet or not. So what'll normally happen with those trumpet snails is you'll have them, they'll grow eventually, and then there's just like some crazy infestation like you mentioned. And then they start realizing that, hey, oh crap, we bred like way too much. And then they'll balance themselves out from that. But you could actually, I mean, hit up your local fish store. Like some people buy those trumpet snails for like fish food, all kinds of stuff. So if you did want to work them a little bit, you could do that. But if you did take them out and they do know their population, it can help from like die off, because if a lot of it does die off and you start seeing cloudy water, then you have potential of your tank to crash, which could be a big problem. So you won't really be in trouble until you actually see that white cloudy water in that case. Diane S., any chance you will be at the Keystone Clash this year? I do not know at this point right now, as far as my whole schedule with events and whatnot. But Stella Cuteness, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Always great to see you in here. And I could never thank you guys enough for the awesome support. MadCat61207 with the black cat and the $1.50 super chat. Thank you. Always great to see you as well, and hope all is going well with you. Kimber Smith says, so when you make your move, are you prepared to wait out the awful cycle time on new tanks? So no, I don't do the whole awful cycle time on new tanks. I'm going to take some of this moldy goodness and I'm going to put it in all my tanks, and then I should be good to go. I'm going to get them nice and dirty. Let's see. And it's what I do when I go to conventions. I set up tanks. It's what I do when I set up new tanks. Like I will put fish in them in that day, because you can, if you have the moldy beneficial goodness. Like literally, this is like the stuff out of your filter. Like if I would stir this up and catch this in a cup, I'd throw it in another tank. Or really, you could just get this substrate, throw that in there, sprinkle it about. That's going to start seeding everything for you like that day, instead of having to wait for it to spore up naturally. And unfortunately, we are getting low on time. I see so many questions. LRB, are detritus worms bad if left alone? No, they're not. They won't hurt anything. Shrimp will actually eat them. Fish will eat them. Becomes a nice ecosystem snack. Stella Cuteness says, why do I feel like you don't breed a lot of tetras? Because I don't breed a lot of tetras. And I'm not, like, I do have the setup for it. But if I want to breed them, like I want to mass breed them. And I'm just not properly set up with that system yet. But I have bred some. I've bred quite a few, like the silver tips, the black neons. I haven't done the cardinals yet, just because I haven't had them in the right situation. Alright, Matthew Clayton says, do you ever think you will hoard as much aquarium stuff in a new place? aquarium and pond stuff. Like, I want to build a whole building just, and you know it's not just going to be in one building. There's actually 5 acres next to the lot that we're supposed to be getting to, and if we could get that other 5 acres as well, like, I want to do all kinds of aquarium stuff for sure. Snoochie Booch says LRB. Oh, I already answered that. I just didn't say your name last time. Can't believe I didn't say that name. It's a good name. Harper ZH1290 or something, blah, 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 says, thank you so much for being a shrimp pimp. I have 10 of your red neos and a 20 long. How many shrimp should I wait to get until I start to call for color? Big thanks. Really, I would wait until you really saw one that just was like, oh no, I don't want that in with this coloration that I'm trying to get. So you'll know it when you see it. And thank you for your support and order. Thank you, thank you. And glad I could be your shrimp pimp. Help you get into the keeping them, so. Thank you. Fail tips for breeding rainbow shiners. So when it comes to the rainbow shiners, Phil, they're egg scatterers. Once again, it comes hard to collecting the eggs. They like to throw them over rock piles. I don't think you necessarily need all the flow, as mentioned. Maybe even give them flow for a while, turn the flow off. I think that may actually help trigger them to breed as well. But you can put Jeremy said here in the chat as well, get a Tupperware container with rocks or something. He says remove after spawning behavior to new tank. Yeah, so if you see that behavior, you've got like a Tupperware with either plants and rocks, and you see them breeding over it, you could do it that way. I find it just kind of hard with the Tupperware is keeping it, when you got to pull it out, you got to pull it out steadily, because that water will want to push that pressure up. And when it does that, it can just scatter your eggs everywhere, and it's just like, oh no. So maybe have a turkey baster with you if you do got to try to save some eggs and you see them pop out. And what was the other problem with those I didn't like? Oh, every time you move it, you're disturbing the ecosystem. So really, if you want like a lazy man breeder tank, you want to set it up to where you can catch the eggs without disturbing their ecosystem. That way you can continuously collect. And I know we're going over here a bit, but I think we're getting into a lot of good questions. Somebody here says mulm. I like mulm until it attracts hydra. At this point, hydra is just another fish in the tank. It can be food for many fish, actually. Hydra, you could actually get rid of it the same way you get rid of planaria. And what I do is I use Pinkish seed dog dewormer, 0.1 grams per 10 gallons. And then I wait 72 hours, do a 25% water change, and then repeat that like 2 to 3 times. Because some hydra is more stubborn than other hydra. But once it's out of there, it's out of there. Like these tanks, there's no hydra in this whole aquarium fish house. None. None. You won't find it. So you can get it out of your systems. Alright, I'm going to have to hop off here. Man, I didn't even get to feed these fish. Okay, I see ya. Hotball Aquatics, you have been very patient. We'll go feed the mascara barbs. We'll feed them. So hang out if you want to see them. If not, thank you all for hanging out for the live stream. I appreciate you all hitting up the thumbs up button, subscribing, super chats, all you guys do. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so excited for the future and the things we're about to do. See, they're not that see, I was about to say they're not that splashy. And there they go, splashing. They have eaten already today, so they're not like crazy hungry. And I threw in a whole storm of granules. Jeez. Fire to ashes real quick. Oh, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. It says another question. Have you ever heard of water going a pinkish color? My mom took water out of her 120-gallon tank and said it's pink. Been doing a water change. She did a cap full of fert. Now I know with tropical granules, if you don't change the water enough, you could actually get the coloration from the food. But that's more like an orange hue, and I don't know if she's just feeding a bunch of granules and overfed it, and maybe that could be the issue, that her food may have that. I can't remember what the name of it is called that actually gives it that hue. But sometimes that can build up. So that's a potential of it. Besides that, I would not know anything else that would cause it to be pink. But, yeah, the only thing I could think of is it's come from food. So very interesting fire too. I would be interested to hear if it was something else or if you come up with another consensus. And the best way to find out if it was the food is ask her or maybe see how much she's been feeding the tank. Because a 120-gallon tank, it's easier to throw a lot of food into something like that. So hopefully that helps you, fire too. And thank you so much for the super chat. Will the panicure method seal off other good invertebrates too? So no, actually, the panicure method, and they actually have like the what's it called, planaria stuff that's already mixed up into like a solution that you can use too if you don't want to make your own solution. I don't know if I got a video on YouTube about this or not. You would think I would, but since I do it every Friday night. But it is good to kind of, once you break that powder up, that 0.1 grams, and put it in a container, add a little bit of water in that. That way it creates like kind of this pastiness, and then add water. That way it dilutes into the water more. Because if you just powder it, it'll float on top. The surface tension may not let it in, but if you could get it into like a pitcher, then you like pour it in there, then it disperses more. But this kills worm-like stuff. And that's a good thing you bring that up. The only thing, mystery snails, certain snails don't do well with it. So maybe if you don't like snails, there you go too. But it'll kill like soft body things. Let's see, I don't think there's any fish, but it doesn't bother shrimp. Actually, the shrimp hobby is what got us to learn this. So we had to find something for them. See, those will be my cardinal breeders there. Well, one group. I got another group of breeders. It's good to have multiple genes, more blood. All right, I'm going to hop off here. Thank you all. And have a great weekend. Until next time. Peace.